Hey, Billy.
No, as it slowly needed.
Just getting the whole like real life situation of art line.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Hi. All tech aside, welcome to the Corner Chat. My name is Dwayne Lawson-Brown. I am joined today by absolutely fantastic and amazing artist, a great thinker, someone who has vision not only for the creative side of life, but also for opening up a world of creativity to other folks. And so, thank you, Shaymar, for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, dude. This is crazy. This is awesome.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, for the past month and a half now, Shaymar's work has been on display in the corner window, the window at the corner, DC. And if you haven't had a chance to, you definitely should stop by, check it out this weekend, because this will be like the last weekend that it is up and running in the space. And so definitely pull up. Shaymar, do you want to talk a little bit about the work that is currently on display?
Yeah, so the work there, all my embroidery pieces, well, there's several of my embroidery pieces, and I started literally embroidering out of just wanting to put my signature on the work, but not wanting to put my name. So I made a quilt for the French African American Art Museum, and again, I didn't want to. It was like a collaboration piece, and I didn't want to put my name on it, so I embroidered my tattoo, and I was hooked ever since. It's such a beautiful meditation, and the collection that's it's based on three themes, which is they are formerly beloved, which is like the ending of like this relationship kind of thing.
We all can relate to that.
We all can relate to like just the happenings in relationship and then like when they end. So like we're just really processing all of those experiences and just being in a relationship and just like being with humans in general. Then another theme is mental wealth. And I really like to bring attention to mental health as a mental wealth kind of aspect, because we don't, especially within our community, we don't have these conversations and we're not vulnerable and transparent enough to really help each other, or really to help ourselves. So I wanted to just bring like suicide, depression, and bipolar disorder to the forefront, because those are like the most stigmatized, and especially with depression, I see that as like the common cold. Like it's so many people within our community that deal with that just from generational trauma. So yeah, I just wanted to bring the conversation, and they're all based on the Kanye West banner. So we all know about the brother.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. I put a pin there as something for us to definitely step in on.
Okay, and then the third one is mental wealth, re-youth. So re-youth is like looking at you or looking at your childhood again, because youth is in brackets. And I just wanted to like have, as I was reading and just looking more at like cartoons as an adult, you really see that the subject matter is really not for kids.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Or like it'll be like this really weird undertone of like adult subject matter. So yeah, there are a few pieces that I think really hit it when it comes to like the Burberry piece, which is your favorite, and that's based on like an actual image that's around in the world. Um, yeah, what do I have there? The Burberry piece on the Manny Two Shoes piece from Tom and Jerry, and then we have the Duck Hunt piece, which is Elmer Fudd mixed with the video game Duck Hunt. Because again, you don't realize these things as a kid, but the black ducks are the ones getting shot at, you know? So yeah, like that's my collection, and I'm calling it translations by because they really are. They're all translations of like real life situations that I've found a way to like compact and compartmentalize and layer into like really beautiful embroidery pieces.
And they are really beautiful pieces. You have, so I do fiber work, I crochet and stuff, and like I look at all of the breadth of fiber work, and embroidery just, it's such a time consuming, and that comes from somebody who crochets, you know, but like it's just, it seems like a very monotonous like process, and to be able to like come out of it with something so beautiful, and also something so heartfelt. Like that feels like a gift. You mentioned it as a meditation.
It is.
Talk a bit more about your process when you're doing an embroidery piece.
An embroidery piece can take months. Like start to finish, smaller piece can take about 18 hours, and a larger piece can take like 40 plus hours. So, and that's not even doing like entire backgrounds. Like as I finally learned about embroidery and tapestry, like these things can literally take months or years to make because they're full scenes. I work with 6 strands. Some people work with 2 or 3, or I work with 6 because I like the puffiness. I like the effect that happens with it. But I started doing this literally. I had no idea what embroidery was. I literally just thought that it was cool. I just thought of like what would a printer look like if a printer was sewing this. So that's why we have the bars, the lines, because I remember, you know, like the old printers, and you would see the lines, you would see the lines and they work, or whatever you print out. So I just, what would a printer look like if a printer was to create this? So how I typically work, I sketch out or like trace the image. I trace the image because I would rather like use my brain for other parts of it instead of like freaking out so much on getting proportions right. So and it's literally a search for like every single color. I try my best to get as close as possible, or like play around with the colors. Like I use lots of gold leafing or like gold filament, silver filament, which is even worse to deal with. I have a piece on my back I can share.
Please.
This is one of my first pieces that I made. I think we had a conversation about it, but I forgot to take it out of my bag when it came to the shop. So, the silver, this gold filament took about 18 hours by itself.
Do you mind if we show that to the camera too? Like, we can come up a little closer. Look at the detail in this piece. And it's all hand embroidered.
This is all hand embroidered. Yeah, so this is one of my first pieces, and this is a Hanuman, which is like a Buddhist / like Hindu kind of thing. They're like the guardians of the higher beings. I wear this on my back because it's about 40 hours of work easily. That's the process. It's a meditation. It really helps you process things because you're looking at it and working through it, and that's another thing. When I first started doing this, also like it was to like really get through some traumas. There's some like really adult subject matter for some of them. But again, like while I'm working on it, I'm able to process and sort through these thoughts. And it's literally like a therapy session.
I'm grateful that you allowed us to show you this work. And I'm glad that we were able to finally make this happen. But I'll talk a little bit about the process. Like we met. I feel like we were in the same circles and like crossing paths
For years.
Yeah, we had a real conversational moment thanks to Whiskey Girl.
Yeah.
And Whiskey hosted a Zoom room party where the boom boom and the zoom room.
Yeah, something like that. Like, whiskey is hilarious.
It was sexuality and health themed, and I was in there to talk about sexuality, health and wellness, protection, things like that. And you showed off your work, and you were mentioning that there weren't many spaces where, I think we were talking particularly about the Bert and Ernie piece.
Yeah.
There weren't many spaces that you felt safe showing that work, just because guidelines and all that stuff. And we're in a world that is still very sexualized yet sexually deprived.
Yes.
And we don't talk about things in a healthy way very often. And the moment that conversation sparked, I was like, I think I know. Like, we just got to figure out when, we figure out the timing and everything, and we're going to make this happen. And we're finally here.
We're finally through the pandemic. We're finally here.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So let's talk a bit about some of those pieces. We'll go from panel to panel.
Okay. At least, as long as you remember.
I think I figured it out. So let's start with reading.
Okay.
So I grew up a big video game kid, right? And I grew up playing Mario Brothers and Bomberman and, of course, Duck Hunt. And Duck Hunt is still one of my mom's favorite games. And I grew up also watching Looney Tunes. And so growing up, these were some of the favorite things. And
Here we go. We're back. So, Mammy Two Shoes, they never showed her face, except for in 1991, I think it was. They showed her face as she was walking down the street, this big, like Ghostbusters, marshmallow guy from the Ghostbusters, walking down the street, and that was the only time we saw her face. They played her as she was poor, but she was actually rich. I remember an episode she was going through her jewelry box and pulling out all these gold necklaces and rings and stuff, but they played her as poor. So yeah, that's why Mammy Two Shoes have 7 different variations of that. That deals with survival, that deals with traumas, that deals with just women as the root of and then there's some slavery pieces with that too. One of my favorites is a watermelon piece that I made. But yeah, those are out in the world. But the Duck Hunt. Well, let's start with the Bert and Ernie piece.
yes.
So I found that shirt online, that image online, when I was just buzzing around one night, and I was just why is Bert and Ernie in the bathtub together? This was around the same, similar when they were, Bert and Ernie were a thing, that was going around for a while.
Yeah.
But Bert and Ernie, they're in the tub together. I think it was Bert is holding a scrubber, and Ernie is holding his rubber duck. And I was this is perfect. This is perfect. So, you really have to come and check it out.
Yes.
Bert is, should I say it?
You said it. I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, Bert is holding a butt plug, a massive butt plug.
Yeah.
And Ernie, no. Ernie is holding the dildo. And then, whatever, yeah. One's holding a dildo, one's holding a butt plug. And it was just perfect.
Yeah.
And I have an acrylic piece, a spray paint piece, where it's like the big rainbow and like love at the top of it. Because it's just like, yeah, this is this is love, you know, like whatever it is, whatever you're into. And then we have the duck hunt piece, which is like blew my mind. That one took a really, really, really long time to work on because I wanted to find the right fabrics for it. You know, it is the background. It's the only piece that I have like tie-dye, like layers of fabric on the background. I wanted to make sure on the background. I wanted to make sure all the colors were right, and yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was like that was one that I really put a lot of pride into. That came out around the same time, like the Trump situation. Yeah, I said his name. Whoops. Yeah, like, but yeah, it was around that time, and looking at R.I.P, he's like, he's wearing a Nazi uniform. Like, what? Why didn't anyone think of this? I'm like, realize this.
And a lot of classic Looney Tunes stuff has that type of like iconography throughout the series.
Yeah, lots of war and like patriotism,
vilification of others, like a lot of xenophobia, and just things that we just took in.
We just thought it was funny, but like in reality, it's so deep and so loaded, and you wonder why people have these like thoughts of others, as you mentioned, like they have these like ideas of what people are, because these are literally training tools.
Yeah.
Like that's another thing. Like entertainment it's propaganda.
Yep.
So like what you take in, what you absorb, what you learn from these things, that's what you're going to continue to push, because everything is based off of our childhood. Like who you are today is based on your entire like experience as a child.
Indeed.
So yeah, that's that wall. Like that one, Ryu. It took me a long time to figure out the name for that too, because I just wanted to be impactful with it. Like it needs to be layered also.
Well, I'm grateful that you contextualized a lot of our youth in that frame. I'm just so excited that people got to see as they're just wandering down the street, eating their ice cream and enjoying their little day or whatever. Yeah. It's like, oh snap, Bert and Ernie, hey, oh, they're having a different fun time. Yep. It's like actually they may have been having that fun time the entire time. Yep. But, you know, yeah. So I celebrate the work. Let's shift gears to mental wealth.
Mental wealth, yeah.
So, mental wealth, you have 3 different pieces, tackling suicide, anxiety, and depression.
Suicide, depression, and bipolar disorder.
And bipolar disorder, yes. Bipolar bear.
Bipolar bears, right.
Let's talk about your approach for this piece. And then, because a lot of people are waiting on the Kanye album like today. They're like, Dawn is supposed to be dropping today. I don't know what's going to happen. And we can maybe jump into, I have a question about art and all that good stuff after. So tell me a bit about why you took this particular approach and maybe why you used the Kanye bear.
Kanye is the homie. Like, I don't know him personally, but like, Kanye is a genius. And with creativity comes like traumas and comes, what's the word I'm looking for? It comes with challenges.
Yeah.
And I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing, you know?
Right.
So Kanye West is an amazing creative, and what I've learned along this process is that we are, just my diagnoses. Like all of those were like my diagnoses, made in the order of the diagnoses, and especially like the bipolar bear, like all of the antidepressants they had me on, they tried me on. It's freaking ridiculous. But why the bear? Because Kanye West is clearly dealing with a lot of things. And I feel like in that bear was, especially when he first came out, the bear was like I don't want to say hiding point, but like that was the like softener.
It was like the mascot.
Yeah, it was a mascot. Yeah, and like the scarf. I always think of scarves as like covering things. And like typically I would have like scarves and the bear always had on a scarf. So what I did, I took the scarf and colored with the like the awareness color of the disorder, or the like symptom class, as I like to call it. So yeah, like the depression bear, the suicide awareness, and the bipolar bear, they all have the color scars of the color of their like the awareness, and the suicide bear is like being hanged by his gold chain, which I thought it was like, aha.
The aha moment there.
That's perfect. The depression bear, there is no black in that. It's all like grays as black, and the colors are a little more muted, because that's what it feels like. And he's crying. Oh, let's go back to the suicide awareness. He's crying, and then he has his teardrop is the actual like suicide, like the semicolon. It's upside down. Like many may not like realize it, but yeah, like he has the suicide awareness tear upside down. And then the depression, like I said, there's no black in that, because that's not how it works. And then and then the bipolar bear, like literally split in half with like the bipolar awareness. It's like the colors are like vertical stripes or horizontal stripes, but I think that's absolutely wrong. I think it's more like dazzle camouflage, which is like it's literally all over the place.
Yeah.
Do I have any on me? It's out there somewhere. But dazzle camouflage, it's raised in all different angles. They used to use it for like warships, so that you couldn't tell the direction in which they were going. And I really feel like that's what bipolar disorder is. You don't know what's going to wake up like. You don't know which way you're going. And it's literally like night and day when it comes to like the one side he's really sad, and then the other side he's like super, super joyous. But again, like starting these conversations, because this is real life and extremely underdiagnosed in our community, and like it leads to other health problems. And that's another thing that our community does not understand. That like if you don't fix your science, your body is nothing but a science project going on. It's just going to like make other things get worse. Like you wonder why you have like these other autoimmune diseases. You wonder why you have like heart problems or like digestive problems. All of that stuff comes from stress. Wonder why you have like diabetes. Like sure, it's partly can be like genetic, but that's just stress on the body. It's inflammation in the body. So yeah, it's like fix your health. That's why I call it mental health. Fix your health. Like that's the real currency. That's the real money.
Yes. So going back to Kanye, right? So because as you said, like Kanye's been dealing with a lot, right? Just mental health, things happening throughout his life, the passing of his mother, all of these things, like very public breakups, very public relationships, very public challenges.
Yes.
And right now, there's a lot of people like patiently waiting, or less patiently waiting, for the release of this new album. And I think of Kanye, I think of Lauryn Hill, I think of a lot of different artists who, like a lot of like local artists and like artists that aren't like brand names, but we deal with this pressure from a hungry public that's like, like when are you going to release? What's next? Like how do you feel that shows up in an artist's life, and how do you think that may affect their mental health?
To constantly try to make other people happy is like the biggest disservice as a creative. Like that's the worst thing. That's the worst part about being a creative, because especially if it's one thing that people like, they're going to expect that same thing from you over and over and over again. And I think that's partially what's happening, like, or what happens with some of the creatives. It's like, I'm over that stage, I'm over that chapter, like, I'm creating something different. So I personally think, like, from my own experience, it does a disservice to, like, really pigeonhole creatives and literally force them, like, projecting onto them, like, I want more, I need more, like, this is my process, like, let me create. And it is that like one-on-one kind of thing when you really like learn artists and creatives and really have conversations with them. It's like you'll get a much better product if you just give them time.
Really.
Because again, it's like we all have our processes. We all have our like way of creating and getting there. But yeah, it causes like a snap because it's like you want to create, you want to make the people happy, but at the same time, it's like I'm not there. So I always think of like people, like artists' second, third albums. It's like the first one is great, but then you get in and they're just like, hey, make more. And the second album is typically garbage. Or like, not say typically, but like more often than not, it's garbage. And then like it's like after that is when they pick up again. I really think that it's a force from like outside pressure. It's unnecessary, especially if you want the artist. You want the wings, but you don't want the art. You don't want the bug.
Ooh, you want the wings, but you don't want the bug. Real talk. T-shirt.
I have an art piece based on that.
Word.
Yeah, it's a spray paint piece.
See, and you also work in a ton of mediums.
Yeah.
Like you, in terms of when folks think of artists, they tend to pigeonhole them in like one particular thing, but you have a wealth of medium that you play in and work in.
I'm no different than the people that we think of as greats. Like they were great because they played around with many mediums. And like, again, the people, they found that one thing, and just like, keep making more of this. It's like, no, I think I'm gonna like play around. And literally until I find what I like, if I didn't play around, I wouldn't have found like these other mediums. Like I was doing quilting and came across embroidery. Like, what? Or like, you're working on like screen printing, and come along with like linoleum printing. Like there's so many different like mediums that align with each other. I was a pastry chef, and I can use those same techniques in like sculpting. So it's like it's the same language, just a different dialect. It's creative. The creative process is very much so like the same language, just different dialect. Yeah.
I think you're one of our greats. I want to be very clear with that.
Thank you.
When people say like, I'm similar to what people consider the greats. I'm like, nah, I consider you one of the greats.
Thank you.
In a very, very, very real way. If you haven't been to the art space up in, give me the name of the art space again.
It's called the Space Free Art for All.
Boom.
Well, we should be changing. If the board members are watching, we're going to be changing. We're going to be like adjusting a little bit, not changing. Because SPACE stands for sharing positive artistic and creative energies, and we do more than just art. So we need to like shift a little bit because we're more of a center and less of like an free art place. Right. So yeah, we're gonna do a little shift.
Well, if you're ever in Greenbelt, you need to go to the Space Free Art for All.
In front of the movie theater, inside of Beltway Plaza Mall.
Boom.
It's easy.
Super simple, and it's amazing. Like you just walk in, and you'll be struck by the nostalgia, but you'll also be like, you'll be overwhelmed by the want to both create and to partake in the art that's present there. So, when I walked in, I was just like, wow.
Just look around, take your time.
It's like, oh, I will, thank you.
Yeah, it's for the creatives. We really need that kind of overwhelm. That like, especially if you're dealing with things. One of my therapists is like, Shaymar, you're doing the right thing. It's like overstimulation. We have music, we have like tons of artwork on the wall, and so like just literally just come in, have the experience, like get out of your brain, snap out of that, and just like literally be in the moment right now and create something. You'll feel a lot better afterward.
Boom. Listen to Shaymar.
And then we missed. We
were about to get there.
Segue.
We were about to get there. We're not done yet. Because the center panel is okay. Like when we think about separation and the emotional ordeals that we feel, the love that we feel, the emotion, the like, the butterflies, in contrast, the sadness, the I'm sorry's, the lo sientos, like however we.
Can I run and look at it?
Yeah. You know what? Let's take a field trip. We're gonna take a field trip.
I'm just trying to remember which pieces I brought in here. I think they're looking at you though.
Oh, they're about to see.
So this piece, one of my favorite. It's based on like the old school like tattoos, and it's me and the idea. Because usually it's like the person's name and the other human's name. But yeah, me and the idea is like really relationship stuff.
When I first saw that piece, I thought, oh, somebody needs to love both you and the idea of you, and like that's something that I've struggled with in the past. Like, you know, in relationships, folks will be like, oh, like when I first met you, I thought you were this way, and it's like, yeah, no, like you gotta love me and the idea of me, and like that.
And
so many feelings.
The back is just as like clean as the front,
which is hard to do in embroidery.
This piece is like, well, one of my favorites. It's sorry in sign and sorry in Morse code, because again, in relationships we don't say that enough, and especially when we mess up. And although I wasn't saying sorry, I was saying sorry that like we have to get to that point, you know.
Yeah. Oh, feelings. So many feelings.
These are all kind of related. Like text messages in the middle of the night, what are you doing, kind of thing. At 2:22 a.m.
At 2:22, what you doing?
And then the last two. Like, this is the collection. These are the like formerly beloved pieces. I hope that you get a chance to come out and check them out, because yeah, I think that it'll start a lot of conversation with around just self, you know.
Yeah, like if you're out and about, you know, you're hanging out with your friends and doing a happy hour.
Let's do another like tour to the other parts so we can sit down again.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, if you're out and about, you're doing a happy hour on U Street or on 14th, feel free to swing on by, check out the artwork. Especially like, you know, if you've recently gone through a separation of some sort, if you are with your partner, it'll be a good conversation starter. Because I think that the I'm sorry piece, so rarely do folks actually wholeheartedly apologize, period, right? Especially if they're in a relationship or and they feel like, you know, that they're always in the wrong. They'll often like avoid having to say I'm sorry, or like, and nobody's ever always in the wrong.
You know, and like conflicts are typically like not one level. They're typically things that build up over time. So like honestly, just the act of saying I'm sorry can like really make things. It drops down that like wall, that barrier, and literally like humanizes each other again. Because at the end of the day, we're all human just trying. We're all flawed, like deeply flawed. And to not apologize is to, maybe that's why I made the sorry piece. Because to not apologize or not to hear an apology is, you know, can be, yeah, it can be taxing on your own, on the self.
Yeah, I know that very, very well. I've been on both sides of that. I'm sorry, or lack thereof. And, you know, if you're the one not saying sorry, you're only doing an injustice to yourself. And then when you're not hearing it, it only continues to eat at you.
Yeah.
So,
you know. And again, you know, like, these things happen. Yeah. So there's no point of having, like, hard feelings with each other, because it's just part of growing. And yeah, I like the idea of couples having conversation about those things, because, yeah, I like playing the little like card games with like on dates and stuff, date nights, because yeah, it starts conversations that otherwise you wouldn't have, or you won't have until the end, like when you're like hating each other, or like disliking each other, or like during an argument, like the wrong times to have conversations like this. Yeah, but like to have these kind of like end of life kind of questions is really how I think about it. Like, you don't wait till you're dying to have conversations with your family about like what to do when you're death, like when you're dying. Right. So I feel like the same way with like, which is why I kind of support prenups. Like, You know, you're having conversation about like what is the end going to look like, or what can the end, what's going to happen, and like let's talk about it. Like it's inevitable.
Yeah. At some point, something is going to happen.
Yeah.
And we would hope that the end won't come in that way, but it is a possibility.
Romanticizing relationships, like that's ridiculous.
It is.
You deserve to be broken up with, you know. But really, romanticizing these things, like Disney has done a great thing, to a great disservice to the community. Again, entertainment.
Yep.
It's conditioning. They're tubes, you know, for a reason. Yeah, it's a whole. But yeah, man, look, you can't romanticize those things because you're both two totally different human beings. And as you said, like the idea, like people not seeing who you are, they see what they want you to be.
Yeah.
And not really who you are.
Indeed.
And that's like a huge part of my work in general. It's like, which is why I have the like black sheep kind of thing going on. Because it's hard being different. And that's where the black sheep came from. It's really hard being different. And accepting that difference is like the black sheep. The black sheep didn't like run away from the flock. The black sheep was like in the middle of the flock, which is just different. And then like I made a little like story that goes with the black sheep. It's like he didn't run away. It's just like at the end of the day, when he's finished, he's going to go hang out with the birds that he met in the tree, you know?
Yeah.
That speaks his language. So yeah, it's all about acceptance. And that's really what like the creative process has done for me. Like help me really like meditate and go through my own like therapy sessions. Because again, we're flawed. And, you know, like no one's given a rule book. So
yeah, there's no rule book for life. We figure this out, and you know, we figure it out until we're not.
Yeah. Was it John Mayer? How did it go? Oh Jesus. Basically, like, as you said, like we're all like making up the rules as we go along. So this is life.
Well, I'm gracious that I get to spend this life having a chance to celebrate your work, and knowing you, like knowing you as a gift. Like, y'all, get to know Shaymar, for real. We'll be here until 6 o'clock today.
Yeah.
Here at the corner. There's also like an opening sort of ceremony. If you're not already following the Corner DC, you should definitely do so. Shaymar has a table full of merch back here as well that you can check out, support, buy. You can build a network with Shaymar. We'll be here until 6 p.m. today.
I like to talk about everything, so come on, bring it on.
Bring it on.
And by the way, any of the merch that I sell, I'm opening up a coffee shop, and that's where the proceeds are going to open up the coffee shop, because I really want to hire like the youth. There aren't places for them to start working, especially in Prince George's County, unless they drive. And when you're under-resourced, that's not always the thing. So I want to provide a place so young people don't have to steal in order to make a living.
Yep. And as a former shoplifter myself, who used to frequent that mall for those particular reasons, you know, I feel like the statute, what is it, the statute of limitations ran out on that situation. It was a while back.
I didn't see your picture hanging up in the office.
There it is. I'm good. But yeah, like, you know, thank you for creating opportunities for folks. You do a lot of, like, we only skim the surface of what you do. Because there's there'll never be enough time on a live to like cover so much. Because you're making free art kits for different organizations and groups in the area, and just distributing them to people so they can create things. You paint. You are doing embroidery. You do quilts. You do like there's so much.
The skate park situation.
The skate park. Oh, yeah, like we didn't even talk about skating. Like there's a whole other realm. So, how can people get in contact with you? How can they follow up and learn more?
Freeartforall.org is my organization's website. I don't have a personal one anymore. It's just too many things to juggle. So freeartforall.org is my organization's website. Shaymar WH. You can find me everywhere: Instagram, Facebook. I don't really use Twitter, but there is a Twitter. And yeah, I have a phone. It's 240-244-6115.
Boom! Look at that. You just got the number.
Yeah, 240-244-6115. It comes directly to my phone. I like chatting, so as long as I'm not busy, we can chat about all the things.
There you go. There you go. Well, this has been the Corner Chat. Shaymar, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like for real.
Yeah.
For real. And I'm about to buy either a belt or something. I'm gonna figure out something. I'm about to purchase. You should pull up and purchase too. This has been the Corner DC's Artist Chat with Shaymar Higgs. My name is Dwayne Lawson-Brown, and thank you to the Corner DC, Whitman-Walker Health, and all of that good stuff. Peace, safety, we're out.
All right, so you know how to do all that stuff.